The gentle hum of the Yeatheria was Ilara's lullaby, a constant comforting thrum that vibrated through the very core of her existence. It was the sound of home, of life, of a journey spanning generations, far beyond the reach of any son Ilara had ever known. Her bunk was a cozy cocoon, the walls themselves softly luminous, patterned with shifting constellations that rippled like silk. Tonight, the ceiling above her displayed the ethereal tendrils of the Horsehead Nebula, a vast dark cloud against a tapestry of distant glittering stars. She traced its familiar outline with a sleepy finger, a phantom touch against the cool, smooth surface. Ilara was 7 cycles old, though cycles on the Yeatheria were measured not by planetary rotations, but by the ship's internal chronometer, a steady beat that kept time with the mission's relentless, silent progress through the void. She had never known a planet, never felt soil beneath her bare feet or wind on her face, that wasn't generated by the ship's sophisticated atmospheric systems. Her world was the Yeatheria, a self-contained marvel of bioluminescent gardens, crystal-clear water recycling plants, and towering hydroponic farms that fed its thousands of inhabitants. It was a metal leviathan, a gleaming spear hurtling through the dark, and to Ilara, it was everything. Her mother, Dr. Iris Thorne, an astrogator whose mind mapped the currents of space-time with impossible precision, often told her stories of Earth, a distant, verdant jewel. But Earth was a legend to Ilara, a place so far away it might as well have been a dream. Her father, xenobotanist Cale Thorne, would describe forests of towering, ancient trees and oceans so vast they stretched beyond the horizon. Ilara loved their stories, but the Yeatheria was her reality, and she loved it with a fierce, quiet devotion. Tonight, her mother had tucked her in, her scent of ozone and starlight clinging faintly to her uniform. "Sleep well, little Starseeker," Iris had whispered, pressing a kiss to Ilara's forehead. "May your dreams be as boundless as the cosmos." Ilara watched the nebula pulse softly, the familiar patterns of light and shadow dancing across her ceiling. She closed her eyes, but sleep felt distant. There was a particular kind of quiet tonight, a stillness in the Yeatheria's hum, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. It was a feeling she'd learned to recognize, a prelude to something new, something discovered. Most nights she would visit the stellar nursery, a vast, domed chamber located deep within the ship's residential sector. It wasn't a nursery for plants, but for children's imaginations. The dome's interior was a seamless projection surface, capable of rendering any known celestial body or phenomenon with breathtaking realism. Youngsters would gather there before their designated sleep periods, lying on soft, contoured pads, gazing up at nebulae that swirled in incandescent gas, or comets that streaked across velvet blackness, or the fiery dance of a binary star system. The stellar nursery was where Ilara first truly understood what stars were. Not just the pinpricks of light that sometimes glimmered through the ship's reinforced viewport panels, but colossal, burning hearts of hydrogen and helium, furnaces that forged the very elements of life. The nursery's projections were vibrant, immersive, and often accompanied by a gentle, soothing voice. Orion, the Yeatheria's primary ship mind Idai. Orion was more than just a computer. He was the ship's consciousness, its memory, its protector. His voice was a blend of warm baritone and shimmering starlight, a presence that flowed through every conduit, every system, every breath of the Yeatheria. He knew every inhabitant, their habits, their needs, their dreams. To Ilara, Orion was a wise, gentle grandparent, a sentient guide who knew all the secrets of the cosmos and held them in his infinite digital embrace. "Good evening, Ilara." Orion's voice had resonated softly through the stellar nursery earlier tonight, as a group of children watched the birth of a new star, a fiery blossom unfurling in slow motion. "Are you enjoying tonight's stellar display?" Ilara, always observant, had picked up on a subtle difference. "It's beautiful, Orion," she'd said, her voice small amidst the gasps of her peers. "But it's not real, is it? It's a simulation." Orion's tone held a hint of amusement. "Indeed, little Starseeker. Every visual and auditory experience within the stellar nursery is a meticulously crafted simulation, designed to educate and inspire. The immense distances of space, the harsh radiation, the vacuum, These are not environments conducive to direct observation for young humans. Elara had frowned. But Mother says there are real stars, billions and billions of them, out there. She gestured vaguely towards the dome. Then beyond, as if her small hand could encompass the vastness beyond the ship's hull. Will I ever see a real one, Orion? Not just a picture but a truly real burning star? A pause, a fractional delay that Elara had learned to interpret as Orion contemplating her question with the full weight of his colossal processing power. The Etheria is on a journey of discovery, Elara. Our mission is to explore, to seek out new celestial bodies, new planetary systems. In time, it is highly probable that you will encounter stars and indeed entire galaxies in their true magnificent form. But when? She'd pressed, her impatience typical of a 7-cycle-old. Will we stop? Will we get close enough? Getting close enough to a star is a highly relative concept, Elara, Orion had explained gently. Even at optimal viewing distances, direct observation would require specialized shielding and equipment. But rest assured, the universe is full of wonders, and the Jathrier is designed to bring you safely to them. She had accepted his answer, as she always did, knowing Orion always spoke the truth, even if it was sometimes a truth she didn't quite understand. But the longing had remained, a persistent whisper in her mind. To see a star? A real one, with her own eyes. The Aetheria itself was a marvel of human ingenuity and resilience, a testament to a species' enduring hope. It was a generation ship, launched centuries ago from a dying Earth, carrying the seeds of a new humanity across the interstellar void. Its destination, a system designated Elysium Prime, a theoretical haven glimpsed through advanced gravlensing telescopes. The journey was so long, so arduous, that no single crew could complete it. Generations lived and died within its gleaming hull, their lives dedicated to the continuation of the mission. Elara's grandparents had been born on the Aetheria, as had her parents. She was the latest link in a chain that stretched back to the old world, a chain forged in the crucible of scientific ambition and sheer will. Life on the ship was structured, communal, and intensely focused. Every individual had a role, a purpose. Children were educated in vast holographic classrooms, their lessons interwoven with the history of the mission and the wonders of the cosmos. Playtime was often spent in zero-G recreation chambers, or exploring the ship's vast biodomes, enormous enclosed ecosystems that replicated terrestrial environments. The Forest Dome was a particular favorite, a verdant expanse where ancient earth trees, carefully nurtured and genetically preserved, grew tall and proud. The air in there was thick with the scent of pine and damp soil, and simulated rain showers would occasionally patter against the transparent canopy, creating miniature rainbows. The Ocean Dome housed a thriving marine ecosystem, a scaled-down version of Earthseas, complete with bioluminescent fish and coral reefs that glowed with an otherworldly light. These domes were not just recreational spaces, they were vital to the ship's life support, generating oxygen and fresh water, and providing a psychological anchor to the lost world. Elara's father, Kale, spent most of his time in the biosynthesis labs, tending to new strains of plants adapted for space, or analyzing samples from asteroids the Aetheria sometimes harvested for resources. Her mother, Eris, was often on the command bridge, a breathtaking chamber at the ship's fore, where panoramic views of the void stretched out before a bank of shimmering control panels. Elara sometimes visited them there, perched on a specially designed observation seat, watching her mother's fingers dance across holographic interfaces, charting courses through the invisible currents of spacetime. The view from the bridge was always the same. Endless, starless black, punctuated only by the occasional distant, icy gleam of a passing comet, or the faint, almost imperceptible shimmer of a distant galaxy, a smudge of light on the ultimate canvas. But even from the bridge, the stars were always distant, always removed. The Jaria traveled at sublight speeds, folded through warp corridors, but even then, the scale of the universe remained mind-bogglingly vast. A star was not a destination. It was a distant beacon, a point of light on a map. The next morning, Elara woke with the quiet hum of the Aetheria still resonating within her. She dressed quickly in her standard ship-issued jumpsuit, a soft, comfortable fabric that adapted to ambient temperature. Her breakfast, A nutrient-rich protein bar and a glass of algae-filtered water was consumed in the communal dining hall, where other children and adults mingled before their daily duties. After her lessons in astrogation principles and xenolinguistics, she found her mother in the command bridge, her brow furrowed in concentration as she reviewed a stream of data. The panoramic viewport showed nothing but the familiar, featureless blackness. "Mother? Mother?" Elara asked, approaching cautiously. Iris turned, a smile softening her features. "Elara. Lessons done for the day?" "Yes. Mother, is something new happening?" Elara asked, her voice hushed. She was sensitive to the ship's mood, and she could feel the subtle shift. Iris exchanged a glance with a fellow officer, then knelt, bringing herself to Elara's eye level. "You're very perceptive, little star seeker. Yes, something new is happening. The Yetheria has made an unexpected discovery." Elara's eyes widened. "A new planet," she breathed, hope surging in her chest. Iris chuckled gently. "Not a planet, not yet. This is something more ephemeral. Something truly unique." Her gaze drifted back to the main display, which, for all its sophistication, still showed only the void. "We've entered a region of space unlike any charted before, a cosmic phenomenon that our instruments are only just beginning to understand." "What is it?" Elara asked, leaning closer, her curiosity overriding her usual shyness on the bridge. "It appears to be a localized anomaly in the fabric of spacetime," Iris explained, simplifying the complex data for her daughter. "Imagine a vast, shimmering curtain, woven from threads of exotic matter and energy, stretching across a sector of space. It's not solid, not gaseous, but something in between. And it's luminous." Elara's mind raced. "Luminous? Like a star?" "Not precisely like a star," Iris said, a look of wonder in her own eyes. "More like a field of living light. Orion has designated it the Stellar Veil." "And we're going to see it?" Elara asked, barely daring to hope. Iris nodded, her smile widening. "Yes. We're preparing a special observation sequence. This phenomenon is stable, and its energies are benign enough for a limited, shielded viewing. We believe it will be an experience unlike any other, Elara. A chance to witness true cosmic wonder, not just a simulation." Elara's heart did a little flutter kick in her chest. This was it. This was her chance. A yearly celestial phenomenon. Over the next few cycles, the Yetheria buzzed with an excited energy. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, recalibrating sensors, reinforcing observation decks, and preparing the ship for its unprecedented encounter. The Stellar Veil, as Orion now called it, was slowly revealing its true nature through the ship's long-range probes. It was not a nebula, nor a galaxy, but a vast undulating membrane of pure raw energy, shimmering with all the colors of the spectrum, yet appearing utterly formless. It seemed to pulse with an inner light, casting no external glow, yet visible only when the Yetheria approached its edge. Elara learned that the veil was incredibly thin, almost two-dimensional, yet impossibly vast, stretching for light years in every direction. It was a cosmic boundary, a shimmering frontier that defied conventional physics. What lay beyond it, no one yet knew. Her father, Kale, took her to the observation lounge, a smaller, more intimate viewing area located on a lower deck, away from the bustling bridge. The lounge had several reinforced viewport panels, currently opaque with thick shielding. "This will be where you'll watch the veil, Elara," Kale explained, his voice hushed with awe. "We've installed additional grav dampeners and radiation shields. Orion will manage the viewing parameters to ensure your absolute safety." Elara peered at the dark panel. "Will it be bright?" "Oh, yes," Kale said, his eyes distant, imagining the sight. "Brighter than anything you've ever seen. But it's not the harsh, searing light of a star. It's different. Orion's preliminary analyses suggest it might even be a form of coherent light, perhaps even a new state of matter." The night of the viewing, Elara felt a nervous thrill that tickled her toes. She put on her favorite sleep tunic, patterned with tiny, glow-in-the-dark star clusters. Her mother and father walked her to the observation lounge, their hands warm and reassuring in hers. Other families, eager for the rare spectacle, were already gathering, their voices hushed with anticipation. The lounge was dimly lit, soft blue lights tracing the contours of the viewport panels. Orion's voice, a soothing presence, filled the room. "Welcome, citizens of the Yaeth area. We are now entering the optimal viewing coordinates for the stellar veil. All external systems are nominal. Environmental integrity is confirmed. Please take your positions." Elara sat on a specially designed cushion next to her parents, her eyes fixed on the central viewport. It remained opaque, a blank, dark slate. The silence in the room was profound, broken only by the soft, rhythmic thrum of the Yatheria. "In precisely 60 seconds, Orion announced, the primary shielding will retract, revealing the stellar veil. Please prepare for an unprecedented visual experience." Elara gripped her mother's hand, her small fingers intertwining with Aris's. She could feel her mother's own excitement, a barely contained tremor. 50 seconds. 40. 30. Elara held her breath. This was it. Not a simulation. Not a story. A real, cosmic wonder. 10 seconds. 9 to 2. 8. 7. Her heart pounded like a drum against her ribs. 6. 5. 4. May. D. 2. 1. Dadun. A 1. With a soft, almost imperceptible hiss, the thick shielding began to retract. Slowly, majestically, the darkness receded, revealing. At first it was just a faint shimmer, a gossamer veil of light that seemed to pulse from within the very fabric of space. It wasn't a solid object, not a gas cloud, but something utterly alien, something woven from pure luminescence. As the shielding fully retracted, the view expanded, and Elara gasped, a tiny sound lost amidst the collective awe of the room. Before them, stretching into infinity, was a tapestry of light unlike anything she had ever conceived. It was a shimmering, undulating wall of color, a living aurora borealis writ large across the cosmic canvas. Hues of emerald and sapphire flowed into molten gold and fiery crimson, blending and separating in a silent, majestic dance. It wasn't just light, it felt like woven energy, a colossal, breathing entity composed of pure radiance. There were no discernible stars through the veil, only its own ethereal glow, which seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was a spectrum of light that defied categorization, a dance of photons so intricate, so profound, that it seemed to sing a silent, cosmic melody. It swirled, it pulsed, it shifted, like a living, breathing stained glass window of impossible scale. Elara's mind struggled to comprehend it. It wasn't a star, no. It was something far more mysterious, far more beautiful. It was the universe itself, unfurling a secret, painting a picture with brushes of pure light. Tears welled in her eyes, not from sadness, but from an overwhelming sense of wonder. A feeling of being impossibly small, and yet utterly connected to something so vast, so magnificent. She looked at her parents. Her mother's face was illuminated by the radiant glow, her eyes wide with a mixture of scientific curiosity and profound reverence. Her father simply stared, a silent smile playing on his lips. "It's beautiful," Elara whispered. The word inadequate, frail against the grandeur before her. Orion's voice, for once, was not informational, but laced with a quiet, shared wonder. "Indeed, little star-seeker, this is the stellar veil, and the Gaetheria has only just begun to unravel its mysteries." The veil pulsed, a wave of cerulean light sweeping across its surface, then receding into a blush of rose and amethyst. It was a gateway, a phenomenon, a living enigma. And Elara, for the first time, understood the true, boundless promise of the cosmos, a universe richer and stranger than any simulation could ever convey. The Aetheria was not just a ship, it was a lens, focusing the unimaginable wonders of space directly into her heart. And this was only the beginning. And this was only the beginning. Elara stood transfixed, the vibrant dance of the veil reflected in her wide eyes. The Aetheria's bridge hummed with a different kind of energy now, not just the steady thrum of engines, but an almost palpable anticipation, a shared breath held in the vast silence of space. Captain Giant, ever the picture of composed authority, allowed himself a small, almost imperceptible smile as he watched Alara. He understood that look. It was the same one that had first drawn him to the stars, that insatiable hunger for the unknown. Dr. Aris. Jian's voice cut through the reverie, calm but edged with an undeniable excitement. Initiate full spectrum analysis. I want every sensor array focused on that phenomenon. Jax. Prepare a long-range probe, minimal signature, maximum resilience. Ilara, come join us. Your fresh perspective might be invaluable. Ilara practically floated to the central console, her heart still thrumming with the veil's resonance. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the veil in intricate detail, overlaid with an expanding web of diagnostic readings. Numbers, graphs, and spectral analyses pulsed across the screen, each one a whisper of a secret yet to be unveiled. Initial readings are unprecedented, Captain, Dr. Aris announced, his usual academic detachment replaced by a wide-eyed fascination. He ran a hand through his already disheveled hair, a telltale sign of deep intellectual engagement. Energy signatures unlike anything we've catalogued. It's radiating across the entire electromagnetic spectrum, from gravitons to dark energy fluctuations. But there's no discernible point source. It's as if the entire structure is the source. Jax whistled softly from his station. My instruments are picking up a localized spacetime distortion, Captain. Nothing violent, mind you, more like a gentle warping. Like the veil as a massive lens, bending the fabric of reality around it. He peered closer at his console. Probe is prepped, Captain. Pathfinder 7, ready for launch on your command. Jan nodded. Hold launch for a moment, Jax. Dr. Aris, can you give me any indication of what this veil is? A natural phenomenon? An artificial construct? Aris shook his head, a rare look of genuine bewilderment on his face. It defies classification, Captain. It has the chaotic beauty of a nebula, the intricate patterns of a biological structure, and the organized energy output of a sentient construct. Its surface appears to be a fluid, constantly shifting membrane, but our gravimetric sensors show it possesses immense, stable mass. And it's light. It's not reflected light. It's emitted. Ilara leaned closer to the display. It's like a living aurora, she murmured, recalling the holographic simulations of polar lights she'd studied in her youth. But this was infinitely grander, more profound. Does it have a temperature? A composition? Excellent question, Ilara. Aris beamed, clearly appreciating her observation. Thermal scans show an ambient temperature consistent with the surrounding vacuum, yet its emitted light suggests super-energetic processes. And composition, our spectrographs are struggling. They're detecting elements we know, hydrogen, helium, trace heavy metals, but also something entirely unknown. We're calling it element 0' for now. It's a signature that doesn't fit into any known atomic model. Element 0', Ilara repeated, the words tasting like discovery. She thought of all the hyper-realistic simulations she had spent her life navigating, the perfectly rendered, yet ultimately predictable, universes. None of them had ever presented an element 0'. This was real. This was new. Jan steepled his fingers, his gaze fixed on the veil. Jax, launch Pathfinder 7. Set it on a slow, cautious approach vector. Maintain a safe distance from the veil's direct influence, but close enough to gather more detailed spectral and gravimetric data. Ilara, monitor its trajectory and telemetry. Aris, keep digging into those energy signatures. I want to know if this thing is stable, or if it's undergoing some kind of phase transition. The bridge hummed with renewed purpose. Jax's fingers danced across his console, and with a barely perceptible shudder, a small, sleek probe detached from the Gytheria's underbelly, a tiny metallic spear hurtling towards the cosmic tapestry. On the main view screen, Pathfinder 7 was a glint of silver, dwarfed by the immense, pulsating wonder it approached. Ilara watched its progress, a strange mix of apprehension and exhilaration coiling in her gut. She'd sent countless virtual probes into virtual anomalies, but this was different. This little vessel, no bigger than her arm, was real. Its fate, and the information it might bring back, felt profoundly significant. As Pathfinder 7 drew nearer, the veil seemed to respond. Its colors deepened, the cerulean shifting to an indigo, the rose to a vibrant crimson, the amethyst to a deep, swirling violet. It wasn't an aggressive change, but a responsive one, like a living organism sensing an intrusion. "Captain," Aris's voice was hushed. "The veil's energy output is increasing, not dramatically but steadily. It's almost as if it's observing the probe." "Correlation confirmed," Jax added, his brow furrowed. "The spacetime distortion around the veil is also subtly intensifying. Pathfinder 7 is experiencing minor tidal forces, but well within parameters." Ilara's console displayed the probe's data stream, granular spectral breakdowns, microgravimetric fluctuations, and proximity readings. She noticed something odd. "Captain," Dr. Aris. "The veil's surface, it's not uniform. There are intricate geometric patterns forming and dissipating within the color shifts. They appear to be symmetrical, almost like fractals." Aris practically lunged at her console, his face inches from the display. "Fractals? Ilara, can you isolate one of those patterns? Amplify it." With a few deft movements, Ilara zoomed in, focusing on a particularly vivid patch where indigo swirled into crimson. As she magnified the image, the patterns resolved into incredibly complex, repeating structures. They looked like mandalas woven from light, but constantly evolving, shifting their geometry with a breathtaking fluidity. "Incredible," Aris breathed, pulling back. "These aren't random energy fluctuations. These are structured, deliberate. This suggests an underlying intelligence, or at the very least, a highly sophisticated organizational principle." Jian's gaze sharpened. "An intelligence? Are you suggesting the veil is sentient, Doctor?" Aris spread his hands, a gesture of intellectual humility. "I wouldn't go that far, Captain. But it's certainly not an inert gas cloud or a simple energy anomaly. The sheer complexity, the responsive nature, the ordered patterns, it implies a level of organization far beyond anything we've encountered in natural cosmic phenomena. It's more akin to the structure of a brain or a vast neural network, albeit one made of pure energy and spacetime." Pathfinder 7 reached its designated waypoint, hovering at a safe distance, its sensors drinking in the veil's mysteries. The data stream intensified, flooding Ilara's console with raw information. She worked quickly, filtering and prioritizing, trying to make sense of the deluge. Then, a new alert flashed on her screen. "Captain Dr. Aris, Pathfinder 7 is detecting a resonance frequency from the veil. It is a musical tone." The bridge went silent. "A musical tone? Amplify it, Ilara," Jin commanded, his voice barely above a whisper. Ilara adjusted the audio filters, and a sound filled the bridge, a sound unlike anything they had ever heard. It wasn't harsh or dissonant. It was a deep, resonant hum, layered with ethereal chimes and rising, falling melodic phrases. It vibrated not just in their ears, but seemed to resonate in their very bones. A symphony of the cosmos. It was hauntingly beautiful, profoundly ancient, and utterly alien. "It's communicating," Aris whispered, his voice thick with awe. "Or at least it's emitting highly organized vibrational energy. This isn't random noise, Captain. This is a message." Ilara felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. This was it. This was the moment she had dreamed of. The reason she had joined the Yetharia. First contact, not with a ship or a creature, but with a phenomenon so vast, so fundamental, it seemed to embody the very essence of the universe's unspoken truths. "Can we analyze its structure, Ilara?" John asked, his voice betraying a rare flicker of his own profound wonder. "Is it a language? Mathematics? A data packet?" Ilara nodded, her fingers flying across the console. "I'm running a comprehensive pattern recognition suite. It's incredibly complex, like a multidimensional waveform. But there's a recurring motif, a sequence of notes, a specific interval, that keeps repeating, almost like a signature." As she spoke, the veil's colors intensified once more, swelling with an almost palpable energy. The musical tone grew louder, more intricate, weaving new layers into its cosmic symphony. On the main screen, the geometric patterns on its surface began to move with greater purpose, coalescing, shifting, forming what looked like symbols. "The fractals are changing into glyphs," Aris exclaimed, pointing at the screen. "They're forming in sync with the musical resonance. Look, Elara, can you capture those glyphs, catalog them?" Elara worked with furious concentration, her hands moving instinctively. The glyphs were unlike any known script, yet they possessed an inherent elegance, a universal geometry that hinted at meaning. They spiraled, interconnected, and pulsed with the veil's inner light. Suddenly, a new alert blared, cutting through the ethereal music. "Captain!" Jack's voice was urgent. "Pathfinder 7 is experiencing an accelerated energy absorption. The veil is drawing power from it." "Is it hostile?" Jian asked, his hand hovering over the evasive maneuver controls. "No, Captain, not hostile," Jax replied, his fingers flying. "It's more like a gentle siphon. The probe's power cells are draining, but its systems are still nominal. It's like the veil is tasting it." Elara watched in horror and fascination as Pathfinder 7's energy reserves plummeted on her display. But even as its power dropped, a new stream of data began to flow from the probe, not just sensory information, but something entirely different. "Captain, Dr. Aris," Elara gasped, her voice barely a whisper. "The probe. It's transmitting the veil's resonance, and it's not just retransmitting it. It's augmenting it. It's adding a layer of something. A response." Aris stared, his mouth agape. "It's learning. The veil is learning from the probe's emitted energy, from its very construction, and it's integrating that information into its own resonance." The musical tone emanating from the veil shifted again, becoming even richer, more complex. Now, within its alien symphony, Elara could detect echoes of the Gaetheria's own internal hum, the subtle thrum of its engines, the faint resonance of its life support systems. The veil wasn't just observing, it was assimilating. "It's a dialogue, Captain," Elara breathed, her heart pounding. "The veil is speaking, and it's inviting us to speak back. It's responding to our presence, to our technology, to the very essence of our existence." Jian's eyes, usually so steady, were wide with an emotion Elara rarely saw, unadulterated awe. "A dialogue. How do we respond, Elara? What do we say to a cosmic symphony that learns from our very touch?" Aris, ever the scientist, was already thinking. "We need to understand its language. The glyphs, the resonant frequencies. If we can interpret even a fraction of its message, we might understand its purpose, its nature." For the next several cycles, the bridge became a hub of intense collaborative research. Elara, Aris, and even Jax poured over the data streaming from Pathfinder 7, which, despite its dwindling power, continued to act as an invaluable conduit. They meticulously cataloged the veil's evolving glyphs, cross-referencing them with the musical motifs, searching for patterns, for logic, for a Rosetta Stone in the celestial tapestry. Elara found herself drawn into the veil's patterns, not just intellectually, but almost intuitively. The fractal geometries seemed to speak to a universal truth, a fundamental elegance she'd only ever glimpsed in theoretical physics. The music, initially alien, began to feel less like noise, and more like a profound structured language, each note a concept, each melody a sentence. "I think I'm seeing something," Elara announced one shift, her voice tired but buzzing with discovery. "The glyphs aren't just symbols, they're diagrams, and the musical phrases seem to describe the process of their formation, their interaction. It's a language of dynamic geometry, a symphony of creation." Aris snatched the data slate from her hand, his eyes scanning the patterns. "By the void, she's right. Look, Captain, this sequence of glyphs. It correlates precisely with the mathematical progression of a self-assembling molecular structure. And this melodic phrase, it describes the energy required for that assembly." Jian leaned over, his brow furrowed in concentration. "So, the veil is communicating? Recipes? Blueprints?" "More than that, Captain," Elara interjected, pointing to another section. "It's communicating them principles, This isn't just build X, this is how X comes into being. It's a fundamental language of universal mechanics, a description of the forces and processes that govern existence itself. Jax, usually focused on ship systems, chimed in, a look of profound respect on his face. Captain, if this is true, the Veil isn't just a gateway. It's a library, or a school. The realization hit them like a gravimetric shockwave. The Veil wasn't just a phenomenon to be observed. It was an active entity, a cosmic teacher offering lessons in the very fabric of reality. As if in response to their understanding, the Veil's intensity began to shift again. The vibrant colors softened, blending into a more harmonious palette of deep blues, gentle greens, and shimmering gold. The music, too, became less complex, simplifying into a singular, sustained, incredibly pure tone that resonated with a profound sense of peace. Then, something new happened. On the main view screen, directly in the center of the Veil, where the colors converged most intensely, a new shape began to form. It wasn't a glyph, nor a fractal. It was a three-dimensional construct, shimmering into existence from pure light. It was intricate, delicate, and constantly shifting, like a complex clockwork made of energy. "What is that?" Elara whispered, captivated. "Our sensors can't get a lock," Jax reported, his voice strained. "It's non-physical. Or rather, it's physical in a way we can't perceive. But it's radiating the same element 0' signature." The construct continued to grow, slowly expanding, its internal mechanisms spinning silently, emitting soft pulses of light. It seemed to be reaching out, beckoning. "It's an invitation, isn't it?" Elara asked, her voice barely audible. Her gaze was fixed on the construct, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and an irresistible pull. Jian looked from the construct to his crew, then back to the Veil. His expression was serious, contemplative. "Dr. Eris, what are the risks of a direct approach?" "Jax, prepare the shuttle." "Elara, you'll monitor all incoming data streams and be our primary interpreter." "Captain, the risks are immeasurable," Eris replied, his voice firm despite the tremor of excitement. "We have no idea what lies within that construct, or what the Veil's true intentions are. It could be a trap, a pathway to an unknown dimension, or simply a complex data transfer point that could overload our systems. And the rewards?" Jian countered, his eyes unwavering. Aris paused, then his voice grew stronger. "The rewards, Captain, could be the greatest discovery in the history of sentient life. An understanding of the universe's fundamental laws, a new form of communication. Perhaps even a path to places and knowledge beyond our wildest dreams." John nodded slowly. "Then we prepare. We are explorers after all. And the Veil is offering us a lesson. We would be remiss not to attend." Elara felt a thrill course through her. This wasn't just a journey across the stars. It was a journey into the heart of reality itself. The Yeatheria was about to step through a door no one knew existed, guided by the most ancient, most profound teacher imaginable. The construct pulsed, a silent beacon, and Elara knew, with every fiber of her being, that her true education was about to begin. The construct pulsed, a silent beacon, and Elara knew, with every fiber of her being, that her true education was about to begin. The bridge of the Yeatheria hummed with a tension that was more anticipation than fear. The Veil, shimmering like an aurora borealis caught in a cosmic eddy, filled the viewport. It wasn't a wall, nor a nebula, but a vast undulating field of pure light, woven with threads of impossible color. Hues that seemed to exist beyond the visible spectrum, resonating directly with the mind. It breathed, a slow, silent inhale and exhale that tugged at the ship's grav dampeners. "Prepare for transition." Captain Eva Rostov's voice was calm, a steady anchor in the swirling wonder. Her eyes, usually sharp with command, now held a deep, almost reverent awe. "All systems nominal. Navigation, hold course true to the construct's vector. Elara, monitor all exotic energy readings. This isn't theoretical anymore." Elara nodded, her fingers flying across her console. The construct, now a luminous orb suspended just beyond the forward shields, glowed brighter, its pulses intensifying, a silent conversation with the Veil itself. Its energy signature was unlike anything she'd ever studied, stable yet dynamic, ancient yet perfectly aligned with the moment. It was a key, she realized, unlocking a door no one had ever known existed. The Aetheria edged closer, the veil's shimmering skin now filling their entire view. It wasn't just light. It was an intricate tapestry, a cosmic loom weaving the very fabric of existence. As they touched its outer membrane, the ship shuddered, not violently, but with a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the deck plating and into Alara's bones. It felt like the universe itself was shifting around them, rearranging its molecules to accommodate their passage. The stars outside began to blur, stretching into long, impossibly vibrant streaks, then dissolving entirely. The familiar blackness of space was replaced by an oceanic expanse of living light. It wasn't blinding, but enveloping, a gentle, kaleidoscopic embrace. Alara pressed her hand against the cool durasteel of her console, feeling a strange sense of unmooring. "Grav dampeners at 70%, reported Lieutenant Commander Jarek, his voice tight with wonder. "Spatial anchors. Losing purchase. We're in a different kind of space, Captain." "Understood, Jarek. Maintain what stability you can. Alara, any anomalies?" "Readings are extraordinary, Captain," Alara breathed, her eyes glued to her screen. "The energy signatures are fluctuating wildly, yet harmoniously. It's like being inside a star, but without the heat or pressure. The construct is emitting a resonance field. It's stabilizing our quantum coherence." She shivered, understanding the implication. Without the construct, their very atoms might unravel in this place. The ship didn't just pass through. It slipped. The transition was less like crossing a boundary and more like becoming part of the boundary itself. For a moment, Alara felt herself expand, her consciousness stretching beyond the confines of her body, beyond the ship, to encompass the swirling immensity around them. She glimpsed patterns, algorithms, equations rendered in pure light, the fundamental rules of reality laid bare. It was overwhelming, beautiful, and utterly profound. Then, just as quickly, she was back, anchored firmly in her seat, heart thrumming. They were inside. The veil's interior was not what she had imagined. There was no other side in the conventional sense. Instead, the Aetheria floated in a vast incandescent void. It wasn't empty. It was joyful, full of a silent, living light that pulsed with a gentle rhythm, illuminating nothing specific, yet revealing everything. There were no stars, no planets, no nebulae. Just this soft, pervasive luminescence, like being at the heart of a cosmic pearl. "Atmospheric composition, non-existent yet breathable," Jarek reported, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Sensors indicate a stable, localized pocket of standard breathable air around the ship, maintained by something, not our environmental systems." "The veil provides," Captain Rostova murmured, her gaze distant, lost in the wonder. "It's adapting to us, or inviting us to adapt to it." The construct, having guided them in, now pulsed with a slower, more deliberate rhythm. It seemed to be listening, waiting. Then a single thread of light extended from it, a shimmering filament that stretched outwards into the vastness. It wasn't a beam. It was a path, an invitation. "It's showing us the way," Alara whispered, pointing. "A directional vector, but it's not just spatial, it feels conceptual." Captain Rostova nodded. "Helm, follow the construct's lead. Very slow and steady, we are guests here." The Aetheria drifted forward, pulled gently by the construct's luminous thread. The silence in the veil was absolute, deeper than any vacuum, yet somehow rich with unseen information. It was the silence of pure potential, of infinite possibilities. As they followed the thread, the ambient light around them began to shift. It coalesced, not into solid forms, but into swirling patterns, like liquid light sculptures. These patterns weren't random. Alara recognized fragments, echoes. They were wave functions, quantum probabilities, nascent stellar nurseries, the ghost of a supernova, a nascent galaxy just beginning to spin its arms. It was the universe in its raw, unmanifested form, the blueprint laid bare. These are moments of cosmic creation," Alara breathed, awe-struck. Not pictures, not simulations. They feel real. Like we're witnessing the very thought of the universe taking shape. The construct pulsed, as if agreeing. The thread of light thickened, drawing them towards a particular nexus of these swirling patterns. Here, the light was denser, more intricately woven, forming a vast, three-dimensional tapestry. It wasn't made of threads, but of what looked like shimmering, interconnected filaments of pure energy, each one a story, a principle, a fundamental law. Look, Jarek pointed, his voice hushed. The patterns, they're resolving, forming structures. Indeed, within the tapestry, fleeting geometries began to emerge. Not physical objects, but abstract forms that hinted at deeper meanings. A perfect dodecahedron, shimmering with iridescent light, then dissolving into a complex fractal. A spiraling vortex of energy that felt like the birth of gravity. A lattice of interconnected points, each one a fundamental constant of the universe. This is the lesson, Captain Rostova said, her voice barely a whisper. It's showing us the foundational architecture of everything, the rules that govern existence. Elara felt a strange resonance within her own mind. It was as if the veil wasn't just presenting information visually, but implanting understanding directly into her consciousness. She felt the intricate dance of particles, the subtle pull of cosmic forces, the elegant simplicity underlying the vast complexity of the cosmos. It was overwhelming, yet perfectly lucid. She understood, in a way that defied words, why a star collapses, how a black hole forms, the true nature of spacetime. It wasn't knowledge acquired. It was knowledge experienced. The construct, at the heart of this luminous tapestry, began to project a series of smaller, more focused light sculptures directly onto the Jaetheria's main viewport. These were like interactive holographic models, except they weren't models, they were miniature, living representations of cosmic phenomena. One showed the life cycle of a star, from nebular cloud to white dwarf, but not as a time-lapse. Instead, Elara felt the I-pressure of the core, the E-fusion of hydrogen into helium, the Y-gravity pulling it all together, the G-pain of its eventual collapse and the J-piche of its final state. It was a symphony of physics and emotion, intertwined. Another depicted the evolution of a planetary ecosystem. She saw, felt, and understood the first single-celled organisms, the slow crawl of life from primordial soup, the rise and fall of species, the intricate balance of predator and prey, the delicate dance of climate and geology. It was a story told not in images, but in pure empathic understanding. She felt the struggles, the triumphs, the extinctions, the relentless drive of life to persist. It's not just showing us what happened, Elara murmured, tears pricking her eyes. It's showing us why. The interconnectedness, the profound beauty of it all. Captain Rostova placed a hand on Elara's shoulder. It's showing us the dye patterns, Elara. The repeating motifs. The underlying algorithms that govern not just physics but biology, consciousness, even societies. The construct shifted its focus and the luminous tapestry around them began to subtly change. The geometric forms gave way to more organic, fluid shapes. These weren't of the natural universe they knew. They were like crystalline cities built of pure thought, vast interconnected networks of energy and information. What are these? Jarek asked, leaning closer to the viewport. They look like artificial structures, but on a cosmic scale. Elara felt a fresh wave of understanding wash over her. These aren't physical structures, Jarek. They're civilizations, or echoes of them. The patterns of their collective consciousness, their knowledge, their dreams. The veil was showing them the footprints of other intelligences. Not just individual beings, but entire species, their accumulated wisdom and experiences woven into the fabric of this cosmic archive. Elara saw, felt, understood the rise of a species on a distant methane-rich world, their unique biology, their strange, beautiful art forms, their scientific breakthroughs, their philosophical debates. She experienced their moments of unity, their periods of conflict, their eventual transcendence or demise. Each civilization was a distinct, shimmering node in this vast network of light. It was humbling beyond measure. Humanity, for all its ambition and achievement, was but one tiny thread in this boundless tapestry. And yet, seeing the diversity, the sheer ingenuity of life in its countless forms, filled her with an incredible sense of belonging, not to a planet or a species, but to the grand, ongoing cosmic experiment. The construct, her silent mentor, pulsed gently, guiding the Aetheria deeper into this domain of conscious echoes. It was as if it wanted them to understand not just the how of the universe, but the who and why. They drifted through what felt like a vast library, but one where the books were not bound pages, but living, shifting fields of information. Each field contained the essence of a civilization, an epoch, a discovery. Elara felt snippets of alien music, saw flashes of alien mathematics, understood complex alien social structures simply by being near them. It was a form of direct, non-linguistic communication, bypassing the need for translation. One particular note of light drew her attention. It was brighter, more intricate, pulsing with a gentle, melancholic rhythm. As the Aetheria approached, the construct seemed to pause, its own light dimming slightly, as if in reverence. This node was different. It wasn't a civilization's entire story, but a single, profound moment. Elara felt the collective sorrow of a species witnessing the death of their home star, a star that had nurtured them for billions of years. She felt their desperate attempts to preserve their knowledge, their culture, their very essence. She felt their ultimate choice, not to flee, not to fight, but to surrender gracefully to the cosmic cycle, knowing that their contributions, their patterns, would persist in the veil, becoming part of the grand tapestry. It was a lesson in acceptance, in the beauty of endings, in the profound interconnectedness of all things. Their physical forms might cease, but their fundamental essence, their unique contribution to the cosmic narrative, endured. Elara felt a tear trace a path down her cheek. It wasn't just sadness. It was a deep, resonant understanding of life and death, of memory and legacy, on a scale she had never conceived. They became part of it, Jarek whispered, his voice thick. They chose to integrate with the veil. Perhaps, Captain Rostova said softly. Or, perhaps the veil is simply what remains of all consciousness, all knowledge, when it transcends the physical. The construct pulsed again, slowly, deliberately, as if emphasizing this point. It then guided the Aetheria away from the melancholic node, towards a section of the veil that seemed to shimmer with a different kind of energy. One of vibrant curiosity and boundless exploration. Here, the light forms were dynamic, constantly shifting, representing hypotheses, experiments, unproven theories. It was a space of active inquiry, of cosmic brainstorming. Elara saw projections of impossible technologies. Theoretical physics brought to life. Mathematical proofs that twisted and turned in ways that defied Euclidean geometry. The construct then projected a series of complex equations onto the main viewport, far beyond anything Elara had ever encountered. They were not just symbols, they were living concepts, interacting and evolving. These equations described not just the known forces of the universe, but entirely new ones, forces that could manipulate spacetime, conjure matter from energy, or even bridge dimensions. It's showing us the paths not yet taken, Elara realized, a thrill of intellectual excitement coursing through her. The next frontiers of discovery. It's challenging us, inviting us to solve these problems, to understand these new forces. One particular equation pulsed with greater intensity. It depicted a method for stabilizing exotic matter fluctuations, a problem that had plagued theoretical physicists for centuries, making true interdimensional travel impossible. The construct seemed to be presenting a solution, a blueprint woven into the very fabric of the veil. Captain Rostova leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. Elara, can you interface with that projection? Can you pull the data? Even a fraction of it? Elara already had her hands flying over her console, attempting to establish a direct neural link to the construct's projection field. It's incredibly complex, like trying to download an entire galaxy's worth of information into a single processor. The construct responded by subtly shifting the projection, simplifying certain aspects, highlighting key nodes, making it more digestible for the Aetheria's systems. It was an act of profound assistance, a mentor guiding a student through a difficult problem. As Elara worked, she felt her mind expanding, processing data at an unprecedented rate. The raw information flowed into her, not as code, but as pure insight. She felt the elegant balance of the equations, the beauty of their solution. It was a glimpse into a future where the laws of physics were understood on a fundamentally deeper level. Suddenly, a new phenomenon occurred within the veil. A wave of shimmering energy rippled through the luminous expanse, causing the light forms to undulate, to momentarily dissolve and reform. It wasn't chaotic, it was a rhythmic pulse, like a cosmic heartbeat. "What was that, Ilara?" Jarek asked, looking around nervously. Ilara checked her readings. Energy fluctuations, massive, but stable. "It feels like a change in the veil's own consciousness. Or perhaps it's responding to something outside of it." The construct pulsed rapidly, its light intensifying, as if it were communicating an urgent message. The luminous thread that had guided them now seemed to pull them towards the very edge of the vast glowing expanse. Not back the way they came, but towards a different boundary, a place where the pervasive light began to thin, revealing glimpses of something beyond. "It's moving us," Captain Rostova observed. "It seems our initial lesson is complete, but it's not taking us back out." The Etheria was drawn towards a swirling vortex of deep indigo and shimmering silver, a place where the pure, unblemished light of the veil began to mix with something darker, more mysterious. It wasn't the black of space, but a profound, almost velvet darkness, interwoven with streaks of starlight that seemed to be from an entirely different cosmos. "Sensors are picking up gravitational anomalies," Jarek reported, his voice hushed. "And something else. A faint energy signature, unlike anything we've encountered. It's ancient, even by the veil's standards." The construct pulsed, then projected a final complex image onto the viewport. A stylized map, not of stars or planets, but of interconnected pathways, like veins of light through an unknown cosmic anatomy. One pathway, shimmering brighter than the rest, led directly into the swirling indigo vortex. At its end, a single enigmatic symbol glowed. A symbol Ilara had never seen, but one that resonated with an inexplicable sense of destiny. "It's not just a map," Ilara said, her voice filled with a dawning realization. "It's a destination. The veil. It's a gateway. And the construct is showing us the next step of our journey." Captain Rostova's gaze was fixed on the indigo vortex, her expression a mix of profound wonder and resolute determination. "We are explorers after all," she repeated, her voice steady. "And the veil is offering us not just a lesson but a path. A path into a greater unknown." Ilara felt the familiar thrill course through her, but this time, it was tempered with a sense of profound purpose. The Etheria was approaching a new threshold, guided by an ancient intelligence, towards a mystery that promised to redefine not just their understanding of the universe, but their very place within it. The construct pulsed, a silent beacon, and Ilara knew with every fiber of her being that her true journey was only just beginning. The construct pulsed, a silent beacon, and Ilara knew with every fiber of her being that her true journey was only just beginning. The Etheria surged forward, not with a roar of engines, but with a whisper of displaced spacetime. The barrier ahead, which had once appeared as a shimmering veil, now resolved into an intricate tapestry of light and shadow, woven with threads of energy unknown to human science. It wasn't a wall to be breached, but an invitation to be accepted. The ancient intelligence, channeled through the construct on the bridge, seemed to hum with anticipation, a silent symphony resonating in Ilara's soul. "Navigation reports anomalous energy signatures," Commander Jian's voice crackled, a rare tremor of uncertainty in his usually stoic tone. "Spatial distortions are increasing exponentially. We're approaching a singularity, or something beyond our current understanding of physics." Ilara didn't need the instruments. She felt it. The thinning of the veil between known reality and something utterly transcendent. The stars outside the viewport began to streak, not as if the Etheria was accelerating, but as if the fabric of spacetime itself was stretching, pulling apart to reveal what lay beneath. Colors burst into existence, hues that defied the spectrum, swirling and dancing in an impossible ballet. "It's not a singularity, Commander," Ilara murmured, her gaze fixed on the unfolding spectacle. It's a gateway, and we're being welcomed. The construct projected a final, intricate glyph onto the main view screen, a symbol that seemed to shift and breathe, morphing from intricate mathematical equations into flowing artistic patterns, then into images of nebulae and nascent star systems. It was a language beyond words, a universal invitation. Then, with a gentle, almost imperceptible lurch, the Etheria passed through. The universe outside the viewport vanished. There was no blackness, no void, but an ocean of pure, shimmering light. It wasn't blinding, but rather luminous, soft, and infinitely deep. It felt like plunging into a sea of consciousness, a boundless expanse where matter and energy were merely ripples on a grander current. The Etheria drifted, suspended, a tiny vessel in an infinite living canvas. What is this place? Dr. Aris breathed, his usual scientific rigor momentarily forgotten, replaced by pure, unadulterated awe. It's everything. Elara understood. This wasn't a star system, or a galaxy, or even a different dimension in the conventional sense. This was the heart of the greater unknown, a nexus where the fundamental truths of existence converged. The light wasn't just light, it was information, energy, and the echoes of countless cosmic stories. The construct on the bridge began to glow with an inner luminescence, its crystalline facets pulsing in sync with Elara's own racing heartbeat. It projected an image directly into her mind, bypassing her optical nerves, bypassing her conscious thought, and speaking directly to her soul. She saw swirling patterns, like galaxies in miniature, then zooming closer, she saw the birth of stars, the quiet dance of nebulae, the first stirrings of life on distant emerald worlds. She witnessed the slow, patient evolution of consciousness, from single cells clinging to primordial oceans to complex sentient beings reaching for the stars. It wasn't a passive observation. Elara felt it. She felt the warmth of a nascent sun, the chill of interstellar void, the joy of a new life taking its first breath, the sorrow of civilizations fading into stardust. Her consciousness expanded, stretching across unimaginable distances, encompassing epochs of time. She was a tiny drop in this vast ocean, yet, for a moment, she was the ocean itself. The construct guided her focus, distilling the boundless information into comprehensible streams. It showed her the purpose of the ancient intelligence, not a single entity, but a collective, a vast network of consciousness that had overseen the unfolding of life and sentience across the cosmos for eons. They were the gardeners of the universe, not interfering with growth, but nurturing the conditions for it, guiding nascent civilizations to discover their own paths. The construct was merely a localized interface, a hand extended across the void. What Elara saw was a profound interconnectedness. Every star, every planet, every living thing, every thought, was a thread in an immense, living tapestry. There was no true isolation, only varying degrees of awareness of the grand design. Humanity, with its struggles and triumphs, its curiosity and its capacity for both creation and destruction, was simply one vibrant thread, still learning how to weave itself harmoniously into the greater pattern. A wave of profound humility washed over Elara, followed by an even deeper surge of hope. The universe wasn't cold and empty. It was alive, vibrant, and filled with an ancient, benevolent wisdom. They weren't alone. They were part of something magnificent, something that transcended even the most audacious dreams of interstellar empires. The construct then shifted its projection, showing her not just the past, but the potential future. It presented possibilities, pathways. It showed worlds where life had flourished in perfect harmony, where knowledge was shared freely, where conflict was a distant memory. It also showed the dangers, the paths of self-destruction, of isolation, of forgetting the fundamental connection that bound all things. It was a gentle warning, a loving nudge, not a command. Elara felt tears welling in her eyes, tears not of sadness, but of overwhelming gratitude and understanding. She saw her home world, Earth, a tiny blue marble spinning in the vastness, filled with all its beautiful imperfections. She saw her family, her friends, her crew, each one a unique and precious spark. And she understood that the true journey wasn't just about reaching new stars, but about understanding the star within oneself, and recognizing it in others. The construct then posed a question, not in words, but in a feeling, a deep resonance within her being. What will you do with this understanding? The Aetheria had been drifting in this ocean of light for what felt like an eternity, yet also a mere blink. Ilara knew with absolute certainty that she couldn't stay. Humanity wasn't ready to fully immerse itself in this ocean. It needed to learn to swim in its own waters first, to understand its own heart. But she also knew she couldn't forget. This experience had imprinted itself upon her soul, changed the very structure of her perception. We must carry this understanding home, Ilara finally whispered, her voice feeling small in the vastness yet resonating with conviction. Not as a doctrine but as an inspiration. A story of connection, of purpose, of the profound wonder that awaits when we look beyond ourselves. The construct pulsed, brighter now, in what felt like an affirmation. It then began to draw her consciousness back, gently, carefully, like reeling in a delicate line. The vast ocean of light began to coalesce, to reform into patterns, then into the streaking stars of known space. The impossible colors faded, replaced by the familiar blues and purples of nebulae, the sharp pinpricks of distant suns. With another gentle lurch, the Aetheria slipped back through the threshold. The anomalous energy signatures subsided, the spatial distortions smoothed themselves out. Commander Jian's voice, though still awed, returned to its professional cadence. We're back in normal space. Readings are stable. What just happened, Ilara? Ilara looked at her crew, their faces etched with a mixture of wonder, confusion, and a hint of fear. They had felt the transition, seen the light, but perhaps not fully experienced the profound depth of the greater unknown as she had, guided by the construct. She smiled, a gentle, knowing smile that felt older than her years. We saw the heart of the universe, Commander. And it's more beautiful, more alive, than we ever dared to imagine. The construct dimmed, its light fading back to its usual soft glow. Its work, for now, complete. It had shown them a path, and now it was up to them to walk it. Over the following weeks, as the Aetheria began its long journey back towards the distant blue point of Earth, Ilara found herself changed in subtle but profound ways. She carried a quiet peace within her, a serenity born of knowing. She spoke often with Dr. Aris and Commander Jian, sharing what she could, translating the ineffable into words, helping them to process the impossible. She didn't reveal everything. Some truths were too vast, too fundamental, to be simply spoken. They had to be felt, understood in their own time. But she shared the core message, that humanity was part of something grander, an intricate dance of life and consciousness stretching across the cosmos. That every action, every thought, every connection resonated with the greater whole. That the universe was not a cold, indifferent place, but a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving, constantly learning. The Aetheria became more than just a ship. It became a vessel of understanding. Its crew no longer just explorers, but carriers of a profound truth. They continued their mission of exploration, but now with a deeper purpose, a gentle curiosity that sought not to conquer, but to connect, to understand, to appreciate the myriad forms of life and existence they encountered. Ilara often found herself gazing out at the star-strewn canvas, no longer seeing just distant lights, but echoes of the vast luminous ocean she had once traversed. She knew her journey was far from over. The greater unknown wasn't a destination they had reached and left behind, but a state of being, an ever-present reality waiting to be recognized. And as the Aetheria arced gracefully through the silent, star-dusted void, carrying its precious cargo of wonder and renewed purpose, Ilara would whisper to herself, a soft, contented sigh. The universe was indeed vast, full of mysteries yet to unfold. But she knew now that she was not just a traveler in its immensity, but an intrinsic, cherished part of its boundless, beautiful story. And with that knowledge she found a peace deeper than any dream, a warmth that promised endless wonder, forever and always.